sports? Do you like beer? Do you love sports and beer? Then you're exactly where you need to be. This is the Huebs, Views, and Brews show on 1252 Sports Chicago. Cheers.
How is everyone doing tonight? Hope it's a good one. If you're a Bears fan, probably not so good. You're probably still yelling from yesterday. Welcome to Huebs, Views, and Brews here on the 1252 network. You can always find us and everything. You can find us on Facebook, Meta now. You can also find us on YouTube and on Twitch. And you can usually hear the shows the day after, the audio on Spotify. So check it all out. My guy Billy Ochepka jumping in already. Has Matt Nagy been fired? We'll get to Matt Nagy. I was doing a post-game show yesterday on ESPN 1000. People wanted to blame Matt Nagy for false starts. They wanted to blame Matt Nagy because Kindle Vildor had 2 defensive pass interference penalties. Listen, you can blame him for a lot of things. He doesn't know how to handle first downs. He's not a good play caller. That's why Bill Lazor supposedly is calling the plays now. But you can't blame him for everything, okay? If you want to, you can. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. I've been running around throughout the course of the day. Went out to Lockport, saw my guy Paul Ivnick from Nick and Ivy, as they have 4 variants of their 1853 vanilla cream ale. And we picked up the 4-pack. My girlfriend Linda, who loves that beer, that's her favorite beer. Yeah, that's her favorite beer at Nick and Ivy, when they have a West Coast IPA called the Huebner, and they have a lager called the Fat Mike Lager. But her favorite beer is neither one of those. I don't know. She's still my girlfriend, though. So anyway, I stopped out there, bought a 4-pack of that. I bought a 2-pack of last year's Nick of Time, the barrel-aged that they did, and that was really good. I picked that up, and I picked up a hat, and a nice Nick and Ivy hat. I got tired of watching Mike with all the nice hats, so I went out and got a hat too. So I'm all set for my apparel, and I got home just in time, wolfed down something to eat, and sat down and been talk some sports and some beer with all of you. You want to jump in, you can always contact us on the Facebook page you're watching or on Twitch, and my guy Mike will send your questions or comments along. We'll get into that. It is called Huebs, Views, and Brews, and because of that, that means we talk beer. We hope to be talking with John Miller from BubbleHouse Brewing in Lisle. They just opened a couple of weeks ago after some efforts to get open. We'll talk with him about how long it took and when he decided to become a brewer and get into this business of craft beer. They've got some beers coming out. A lot of people this week have beers coming out Wednesday and or Friday. And it's going to be a very, very busy week in the craft beer business. I'll talk about a bunch of the new beers coming out, the variants, the barrel-aged beers. That's what you get in November, December, January, a lot of stouts. Last week, I ran over to Orange and Brew. Orange and Brew, Eric Schmidt, he was on my very first show from Orange and Brew, and they were releasing a beer that they did. I guess this is the 3rd year in a row they've done a beer with Pollyanna. And the beer they did is called West Coast Optimism, okay? And I guess it's the very first West Coast IPA that Pollyanna did that wasn't their Lexical Gap series of beers. And when I walked in there, it's a West Coast IPA, 6.2 alcohol by volume. The Huebner, by the way, at Nick and Ivy is 6.4, I think. So you can try them both, pick them up, buy them, bring them home, try them in your house. But this one was very good. And when I went there, behind the bar, I ordered a West Coast Optimism. And I knew they had cans. I knew I was going to walk out with some cans. And the guy behind the bar said, do you want on tap or do you want from the cask? Now, the cask is like a mini keg. It's about yay big, and I'm not exaggerating. It's about how big it is. And it was on top of the bar. And I said, I'll take the cask. And then I walked around and talked to the brewer from Pollyanna, who knows a heck of a lot more than most people in the bar or in the tap room about beer. And I said, what exactly will I taste from the cask that I might not taste in the bottle or the cans or the tap? And he said, In the cask, it's basically before they put all the carbonation in, so you'll taste it. It'll be a little danker, and as a West Coast IPA, the hops might jump out a little bit more for you. It was wonderful from the cask. If you like West Coast IPAs, you would love it. I know they had the cask for a couple days there. Hopefully, people that headed out to Orange and Brew had a chance to try it. But this is the first time I'm trying it in the cans. And it's very, very tasty. Really good. And I can tell the difference because it does have a little more of the carbonation in it that is necessary for the taps and for canning and from a West Coast IPA. So that's very good. That's one of the beers I'll have throughout the show. I may have another one. You never know. It's been one of those days running around doing crazy stuff. Heading on out to Lockport, looking at the house that Linda and I are building. And we're still waiting for some wood to go up. And I mean, on the house, still waiting. So we'll see how things go. But Bears football yesterday. Now, most people who listen to this know I work at ESPN 1000. And this year, I've been doing post-game shows for ESPN 1000. Now, in previous years, I would stand up a little bit for Mitch Trubisky because I said that Matt Nagy as a play caller was awful, and Mitch Trubisky would be better with almost anybody else calling plays for him. And too many people said, no, he sucks. He can't do this, can't do that. Listen, Mitch Trubisky could never read defenses. I'm never going to disagree with you there. But the Bears didn't have an awful record with him at quarterback, okay? They did not have an awful record. He was out for several games, but that's neither here nor there, okay? So yesterday after the game, as I said at the very beginning of the show, people were calling in, complaining, and they said, well, why is it that the Bears left so much time on the clock at the end of the game? Okay. This is the second game in a row for the Chicago Bears that they scored late in the fourth quarter to take the lead. They did it against Pittsburgh, and now they do it yesterday against the Baltimore Ravens. They scored to take the lead on a 49-yard touchdown to Marquise Goodwin. What is Marquise Goodwin supposed to do? Stop at the 5 and then hope they score a touchdown in the next minute or two? No, you score the touchdown when you get a chance to score a touchdown. It wasn't like they were on the 4 or 5 yard line and were going in on a run play or something like that. So that was bizarre. That set me off, I think, for the rest of the show because people were criticizing me then throughout the whole thing saying, well, he stood up for Trubisky. Now he's standing up for Nagy. I'm not standing up for Nagy, but you can blame anybody. You can blame Matt Nagy for whatever you want to blame him for, but you can't blame him. In my opinion, you cannot blame him for Kindle Vildor and defensive pass interference penalties. You cannot blame him for Jason Peters or the false start. You cannot blame him for Larry Borum at a false start. You cannot blame him for Cole Kmet at a false start on the first play of the second half. Okay? Sometimes the players have to, why is it that of the 11 guys, they're the only individuals that jumped on those plays? They screwed up. And people say, well, they got to be better coached. No. If they coached 10 of the 11 guys to do it the right way, then whose fault is it? It's the players. The players need to have some responsibility. Again, I do not think, and I've said this throughout the football season, I do not think that Matt Nagy will be fired before or during the season. I also do not think he'll be fired at the end of the season because I thought the best time to let him go was last year. Now that you have Justin Fields, we'll see how he does the rest of the season. He will not be playing Thursday, it appears, after the bruised ribs he suffered yesterday at Soldier Field against the Ravens. Looks like Andy Dalton will be the starter once again on Thursday against the winless 0-9-1 Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving Day. The first game of the day at 11:30 starts, so we'll see how the Bears do. You'd hate to have the Lions get a victory. Some people are saying, well, I'd like the Bears to lose because I want Nagy gone. I want the Bears to lose because they'll get a higher draft pick. Well, they won't get a higher draft pick because their draft pick is going to the Giants. So don't think about that, okay? That's not in play. The Bears are 3-7. They've lost 5 straight. Last year, they lost 6 in a row. You didn't think it could get that bad? Well, it is. It's definitely that bad right now. Andy Dalton came in, threw a screen pass to Jimmy Graham, who really got half of those yards because he was heading towards out of bounds, made a quick spin move, and gained about another 10 yards for a 23-yard gain. The next play, a well-blocked screen pass to Darnell Mooney, and he goes 60 yards for the score. 2 plays and a touchdown. So that was nice to see. Tom from New Lenox says, do you think the Bears can beat the Lions? Lions are playing tough nose, but they are playing tough. And Swift ran for 130 yards, I think it was yesterday. I like some of their young players, but who is Tim Boyle? I don't know who he is. It looks like he'll be playing again for Jared Goff. So you're going to have Tim Boyle against Andy Dalton. I think the Bears should go into Detroit and get a victory, but you never know what's going to happen. Who thought that this very, very good, supposedly very good Chicago Bears defense would give up late leads? And when I mean late, I mean very late. All they had to do was stop the Steelers one possession after they took the lead. Couldn't do it. Roethlisberger marched them downfield. They get the field goal to win the game. All they had to do was keep the Baltimore Ravens, who had not gotten in the end zone the whole game. All they had to do was keep the Ravens out of the end zone. They couldn't do it. And the Ravens score. A rookie quarterback making his first NFL start goes 26 of 36. That's just not something that should happen. So it was very disappointing to see the whole thing. The Bears struggled with Justin Fields in the game. He had 3 for 7, I think 4 for 11 for the game, throwing the ball. He was off. The Bears drove down the field the very first series of the game. Everything looked good until a 3rd and 5 play when all of a sudden they call a pitch out to the right side. That was brutal. That was a horrible call. People are yelling at me. Bill Lazor's calling the plays now. Unless we're told differently, it is Bill Lazor calling the plays. So Bill Lazor called the pitch out on 3rd and 5. Somewhere along the line, I would guess that Matt Nagy had to agree with that when they were sitting in their meetings. But, brutal call. Cairo Santos comes in. Last kick he had was a miss on the 65-yard attempt in vain at the very end of the Steelers game. He missed this one wide left, so the Bears don't score. And the Bears do not score in the first half. They're down 6-0 at the first half. Mike from Worth says the 4th and 1 confusion. I was ready to throw my TV. The 4th and 1 confusion. I've heard a lot of people. I heard Tom Waddle earlier today on the radio say, if it's 3rd and 1, there's no reason to throw a deep pass. You knew at that time you were going to go 2 downs. And if you think your guy can beat and take the secondary guy by surprise, do it. And they tried. If it connects, no one's talking about why did they throw deep on 3rd and 1. It didn't work. Everyone's talking about it. The 4th and 1 play, when they ran the 4th and 1 play on the Wildcat with Montgomery, you heard Romo and Nance, Tony Romo especially, saying on the replay, all Montgomery's got to do is cut to the left. He's got an open field. He might have gone all the way. He had nothing but blockers to the left. Instead, he cut right, tried to go behind James Daniels, and he got tackled for loss, did not get the first down. And that was brutal. Yeah, there was some confusion. That's on Nagy. That's on the coaching staff. Headsets not working, all those kind of things. That's something they should have figured out ahead of time. They also were talking about going for the 2-point conversion. And I didn't think it made a whole heck of a lot of sense going for it. Kick the extra point because it was 5 or 6. I heard people today saying, well, if they get a 6-point lead and the other team scores, you're forcing them to kick the extra point. Well, yeah, but when you're scoring at that point, you're not worried about if the other team's going to come down and score. You're worried about taking the lead. So I don't know. That was something. Maybe I'm off on that. Maybe I'm wrong on that one. You can let me know. But I didn't think there was a reason to go for 2. They missed it, as it turned out, and they only had their lead was 1 point shorter. Kendall Vildor is really bad. And week in and week out, teams are going to take advantage of him until he gets some help from a safety or somebody. And Marquise Christian, I think, is the other guy that wears number 23. And he's been really bad. And he's been lining up and trying to help Kendall Vildor. Didn't work. Roquan Smith is all over the field. He's one of the best linebackers I've seen in the NFL this year. He had 17 tackles yesterday. I agree, Tom. Vildor is the worst. Now, we knew going in it was going to be a tough season because you got 2 second-year quarterbacks. Offenses in the NFL are going to pick on your cornerbacks no matter who they are, but they respect Jalen Johnson a heck of a lot more. They weren't attacking Jalen Johnson. Now, granted, the Ravens didn't have a lot of weapons yesterday. They had some guys out. Marquise Brown was out. Hollywood Brown not playing. and Lamar Jackson not playing. They announced that at around 10 o'clock yesterday morning. He had come to Chicago, was at Soldier Field, and did not play. That allowed Tyler Huntley to actually get the start yesterday for the Ravens. So it's the Bears. I had a couple stats here that I found interesting. Hopefully you do too. Fields for the game, by the way, 4 for 11, 79 yards. The Bears have scored 10 points or fewer in the first half of 36 of the 60 games coached by Matt Nagy. That's including playoff games. You can't have that happen. You've got to come out. You've got to be able to figure out a way to jump on the opposition and score early. Score early, score often. Do what you can do, but you got to find a way to do it. And Matt Nagy and his Bears offense has not been able to do that. Again, I criticize Matt Nagy for a lot of things, but I don't criticize Matt Nagy for things that, in my opinion, are the players' fault or other things, okay? Again, you can agree or disagree. The first drive, like I said, Jakeem Grant, he ran, he caught a ball early. Usually he doesn't do anything but return kicks. They did use David Montgomery, but not as much as I would have liked. And after the game, you hear, well, we only ran 17 plays in the first half. Well, whose fault is that? That's the offense's fault for not playing better and letting David Montgomery run the ball. Second possession for the Bears on Sunday. After they drive down the field and miss the field goal, they go 3 plays, 3 and out, 58 seconds they used up, and they punt. And on that drive, if you want to call that a drive, they get the ball at the 20. Fields runs for 3. He throws incomplete to Mooney, incomplete to Goodwin, and punts. 2 bad passes. The third series, the Bears get the ball at the 25, and they're running it. David Montgomery, 11 yards. David Montgomery, 7 yards. Fields finds Goodwin for 22 yards. Things are looking good. Montgomery, another 5 yards. Things are going real well. And then Justin Fields fumbles the ball. Justin Fields has 9 fumbles this year. That's more than anybody in the NFL. The kid's a rookie quarterback. He's got to learn. He's got to learn how to hold on to the ball. He's got to learn how to get rid of it. He's got to learn how to protect himself. There's a lot of things Justin Fields needs to learn. Granted, the offensive line needs to help him out a little bit. But the offensive line does a really good job at run blocking. So it would be really nice if when you have a guy like David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert, which we've seen can run the ball, run the football. Bears football has always been known as running football and middle linebackers. We got Roquan Smith at the linebacker. Now you got David Montgomery, back healthy, can run the ball, and can run it well. The Bears were never known for a quarterback since the days of Sid Luckman. And hopefully, we're still holding out hope that Justin Fields will be that guy. Now they got the Lions coming up on Thursday. We'll see what happens. It's the Lions. I'll try to watch most of the game. Usually I do post-game. I let them know, listen, I got two households to go to. I can't be doing a post-game show on Thanksgiving Day. Game starts at 11:30. I'd be there at 11, watch the game, then do post-game when most people are having turkey dinner, watching the second game, something. So I will not be there on Thursday, but I will be there Wednesday night. I'll be with Mark Zander, filling in for Chris Bleck and Adam Abdallah from 6 to 8 on Wednesday night on ESPN 1000. We'll have plenty to talk about, getting people ready for the Bears and the Lions on Thanksgiving morning. Let me take another sip. Oh, and I'll get to Darnell Mooney in a second, because Darnell Mooney is a guy I really like. He's got speed. He's got the ball, made some big plays this year. They threw 11 incompletions to Darnell Mooney yesterday. He dropped a couple of balls over the middle that he should never have dropped. It was bad. The Bears were 2 for 11, I think it was, on first down or third downs. You got to be better than that. This team has to get yards on first and second, so third down's a piece of cake, and they can't do it. As we just hope, as Bears fans, that sometime in our lives they'll have an offense that is feared or at least respected around the rest of the NFL, because I don't think they've ever had one. When they had Sweetness, they had Walter Payton back in the day, it was the defense everybody talked about. The Bears ran the ball. They threw the ball when they had to, went deep to Willie Gault, and I was surprised every time Willie Gault caught a long pass. Wasn't the best hands in the National Football League. But the Bears have never been known for their offense. It's always been their defense. And it would be nice one time before we leave this earth if the Bears could be respected, or feared for their offense and not their defense. So you had Quinn, who had an awesome game. He had 3.5 sacks. Vildor had a sack on a safety corner blitz. Goldman shared half the sack with Quinn, and Ladarius Mack and Travis Gibson also had half a sack apiece. The Bears were without a lot of people on defense. No Eddie Jackson, who can't tackle, but maybe he would have helped on that 30-yard pass to Sammy Watkins that got the Ravens the ball inside the 5, and eventually they go in to score the Devontae Freeman touchdown. That would have been nice. See if Eddie Jackson can come back. I don't think he probably will on a Thursday. Akeem Hicks was out. Khalil Mack is done for the year. So they need other guys to step up, and Quinn is doing it. 3.5 sacks. He played well. He stayed on side for most of the game. He was none too happy after the game, but he was talking about how the players need to step up. The players are pissed off. The players. And I'm reading today, it says somebody making a report from one of the websites that apparently numerous players are tired of playing for Matt Nagy. You know what? Numerous players should just worry about improving their play. How many players on the Bears can you look at honestly and say they've played well this year? Not even superbly, not even good, well. They've played well. There aren't that many. Okay, you got some on the line. There's not a ton. And so the players need to step up. And I hear a lot about coaching. I hear a lot about, let's fire this guy. Just because you fire a coach doesn't mean you're going to change things. I still blame Ryan Pace more for what's going on wrong with this team than I blame Matt Nagy. Complain, argue with me if you want, but that's just the way I feel. Ryan Pace and what he's done with the draft picks, what he's done with signing free agents, what he's done by signing the wrong free agents has really hurt this team going forward. And we'll see how things go. Again, they do not have their own first-round draft pick next year, so we'll see what they're able to do when the season comes to an end and picking up players. We got Beer Talk coming up in a couple minutes, but first I want to talk a little bit more about sports, and that's because the Chicago Bulls are fun to talk about. That's right, the Bulls, a team that a couple of years ago we watched Jim Boylan as their head coach, and every single game I heard callers on the radio stations talking, Jim Boylan's got to go. You got to fire Jim Boylan. This guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's calling timeouts with 10 seconds to go just to prove a point, but la-da-da. And you know what? A lot of times it comes down to players not being able to play the game. When coaches put players on the field, players have to do what they did in practice. Players have to figure things out. It's too easy in the world of sports to blame the coach for everything. Unless a coach completely loses a locker room, or unless a coach makes all the wrong all the wrong calls, it's difficult, in my opinion, to blame coaches. Facebook guy just said, I watched Justin play every snap at Ohio State. He knows how to play football. He doesn't need to learn how to hold on. Well, yeah, apparently he does. He's fumbled 9 times. He kicked butt, kicked ass for the Buckeyes, had a great team around him. Yeah, and every quarterback can play well with a great team around him. He's like a deer in the headlights out there. He just lost his mojo. He was the best. That's right. At Ohio State, he was the best because he had the best guy at every position on the line, probably. That's how it happens. You get to the NFL, it's not that way. Guys that were tremendous quarterbacks in college fail in the pros all the time. All the time it happens. There used to be the thing where anytime somebody won the Heisman Trophy, if they were a quarterback, it's like, don't take that guy. Lord forbid, don't take that guy. He won the Heisman. Yeah, because he was on a good team with good players around him. That's what Justin Fields was on. He could have been on a good team in Georgia, wasn't playing, so he went to Ohio State, played on a really good team, a team with a bunch of guys that are going pro at the next level. You see Ohio State players littered around the National Football League. The NFL's different. He needs to learn. I don't know how you can say he doesn't. He needs to hold on to the ball. He's fumbled 9 times. 9 times, more than anybody. And he hasn't played as many games as most of the quarterbacks in the NFL. So, yeah, we'll wait and see how he gets better and if he gets better. He did not improve. He did not show improvement from the fourth quarter of the Steelers game to the first quarter and the first half of the Bears game. I was hoping to see improvement. I did not see it. And it's not going to happen all the time, but we definitely did not see it in that game the other day. The Bulls are fun to watch again. I started off with this, but I got sidetracked with the Justin Fields stuff. The Bulls went on the West Coast, and they go 3-2 on a road trip. That's good. That's really good, especially when you get blown out in the first game against the Golden State Warriors. Now you're going to L.A. to play the Clippers and the Lakers in back-to-back nights. The Bulls win both of those games. They let a game with Portland get away, and then they win the final game of the trip against Denver. They come home on Sunday night with the New York Knicks. Close game throughout, and then they opened it up. DeMar DeRozan, there were a lot of people that know the NBA far, far better than me saying that DeMar DeRozan wasn't a good pick. You don't want to get DeMar DeRozan. Don't get him. I was the guy that said don't get Lonzo Ball. Shows you what I know about the NBA. Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, fun to watch. And Alex Caruso, this kid is so much fun to watch. I've not seen a defensive player in the Bulls like this since Norm Van Leer. This guy is in the face of the other players. He's so much fun to watch. He frustrates the other guys. He's a pest, as Stacey King says. He is definitely a pest and fun to watch. He's not playing tonight as the Bulls are taking on Indiana. The Bulls 109-103 last night. DeRozan with 31, LaVine 21, Lonzo Ball with 11, and Kobe White slowly but surely getting back into the swing of things after having shoulder problems. He had a rough start in his first couple games. He had 14 points yesterday, helped the Bulls get the victory in the fourth quarter. So that was nice to see, as they're off to a pretty good start this season. And when I say pretty good start, they're on top of the Eastern Conference. That's right, 12-5, best record in the East. That's good to see for the Chicago Bulls. So it's nice to be able to turn on the TV and watch some good basketball played. I've said numerous times on ESPN 1000, heck, when I was on the Score, I'm not an NBA fan. I don't watch the NBA, but I watch the Bulls. I always watch the Bulls because they're a Chicago team. I work for a Chicago sports radio station. That's what you do. You cover their team. I don't need to watch Portland, Seattle. Well, Seattle doesn't have a team anymore. I don't need to watch Portland and the Clippers. I don't need to watch the Lakers and Oklahoma City. I don't need to watch that ever. Playoff, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. There's better stuff for me as a Chicago sports radio guy to watch than an NBA game between two teams where one of them is not a Chicago team. And I feel the same way with hockey. I know there's a ton of hockey fans out there. I tried to watch the Blackhawks the other night, and then when it was 2-0 against Edmonton early on, I said, I got to find something else to watch. Watch the rock and roll inductions on HBO. It was nice to see. Kraftwerk got in. Todd Rundgren got in. Jay-Z, LL Cool J. LL Cool J had some interesting things to say. He said, listen, rock and roll, he says, the hip hoppers and the rappers love you. We sample your stuff. We respect you, but we're artists too. I thought that was very interesting because for years I used to say rap and hip hop, it'd be nice if people can play instruments. And a lot of the guys in rap and hip hop write lyrics, and there's poets. But what LL Cool J said was very good, and his story was pretty awesome. Plus, he's done nothing but just cash in on everything he's done. And you see him on TV every week. So that was nice to see. Other people that made the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was fun to watch. I love watching those things. The Foo Fighters made it. I've been a big Foo Fighters fan since I realized who they were. I told someone, I said, yeah, I'm into the Foo Fighters now. They said, well, good. They've been around for 25 years. I said, okay, well, I didn't know that when I first got into them like 5 or 6 years ago. I didn't know they were around that long. But anyway, I digress. Let's talk a little bit more. Let's talk some beer talk. We got more sports coming up. We got beer talk coming up. We're going to hopefully talk with John Miller from BubbleHouse Brewing. We come back, we'll get some beer talk because there's a lot of stuff going on in beer over the next couple of days. So we'll talk about that. We come back after a message so I can have some of my beer right here in my basement.
Hello, this is Paul from Nick and Ivy Brewing Company. We are located at 1026 South State Street in historic downtown Lockport, Illinois. We are very excited to be partnering up with the Fat Mike Chicago Sports Show, as well as the 1252 brand, because we are one of the few Chicagoland breweries that embrace sports and sports culture. Come in for a fresh brewed beer made right here in Lockport while catching the game of your favorite team. Stay for the live music that we have booked every weekend, or just come for a cozy atmosphere to enjoy a good conversation with a friend, loved one, or complete stranger. stranger. Nick and Ivy makes you feel right at home no matter what the occasion is. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook by searching for Nick and Ivy Brewing Company. Visit our website for our up-to-date tap list or to go shopping on our online store at nickivybrewing.com. That's Nikivy brewing.com. Come in today for fresh brewed beer born and raised in Lockport, Illinois.
Real estate is hot right now, and you need an attorney to handle all of this. My guy, Mark Berardi, does this all day long. He's a straight shooter. There's no fancy language. He's just to the point. And he and his team get the deal done. There's no BS. He also does estate planning, trusts, wills, and power of attorney. He has great reviews up and down the board from a ton of happy clients. For him and his big team, they're all just down to earth and normal people as much as he is. You will not be disappointed you went with him. He's located in Homer Glen and New Lenox and handles real estate all over Illinois. There's no place too far, so give him a call today at 708-942-8030. Again, that's 708-942-8030, or look him up online at Mark Berardi and Associates.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Darren, licensed real estate broker with Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group in Homer Glen. Are you looking to buy or sell? Have you been disappointed in the past? The Jonathan Darren team with Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group focuses on providing you with a concierge level of service during the process of buying or selling. We are a service-oriented team with a fresh and professional approach to selling real estate. Our goal is to combine knowledge, skills, and passion to exceed our clients' expectations, and most of all, we truly care. We are a knowledgeable real estate team focused on offering expertise and innovative solutions for our clients. The Jonathan Darren team has 5 full-service real estate brokers and a dedicated full-time marketer servicing all of Chicagoland. We will customize a detailed plan around your timeline for a sale, purchase, investment, estate, or other needs. Real estate transactions can be stressful, but don't need to be. Let us handle it for you. Visit our website, homesbyjdt.com, or call 708-308-1938 today. Expect better in real estate. Choose the Jonathan Darren team.
Welcome back. A bunch of sponsors there. Jonathan Darren, also Nick and Ivy. I showed you the hat. I can't wait to wear it. Hats fit me different. I know Mike's got a big head. I get a big head too. And Paul's got a big head. We got you put the three of us should never be in front of anybody because you know you'll be able to see it. But when I wear my hat, you can't see my pretty eyes. So anyway, that was pretty funny, even if I say so myself. So anyway, beer, a ton of beer stuff coming up this week. It's called Black Wednesday, Black Friday. And I know it's not just beer people that call it that. Everybody calls it that because of all the sales that go on. For the longest time, my wife would go shopping on Black Friday from, like 10:30 or 11 o'clock on Thanksgiving night until sometime early the next day, come home for a few hours, sleep, and then go back out and go shopping again. My girlfriend Linda now does not like shopping that much. I have to convince her to go out and buy something. So it's a completely different turnaround. But I do think I might need a driver on Friday because Wednesday night I work at ESPN 1000 on Wednesday night from 6 to 8. Friday I do not work. And there are so many things going on beer-wise on Friday. Let's give a listen. Let's take a look at some of them. First of all, before we do that, the holiday season is always a big time for Goose Island and Bourbon County Stouts. Bourbon County Stouts come out. They've been coming out for years. And you can get prop days. I think prop days with Goose Island was last week. There's an article in the Tribune today from Josh Noel from the Tribune. We had him on the show a couple months ago, talking about how some of these smaller tap rooms, bottle shops have stopped selling Goose Island. So because of that, they're not able to get any of the Bourbon County stouts, where Bourbon County is going to Binny's, going to Jewel, Osco, things like that. I didn't get any last year. I don't know if I'll get any this year. There's just a couple of them I want. I don't necessarily need all 8 of them. Many of the bottle shops and stores were doing a deal for $259 or $269. You go to all 8 of the different variants of the Bourbon County Stouts. You get the Bourbon County Stout. You get the Bourbon County Classic Cola Stout. You get the Proprietors. You get a bunch of them. The barley wine, all those. I was not able to get into any of those things, but that's okay. Slowly but surely, I'll be able to pick some up, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that probably have some. But If you get a chance, check out the article in the Tribune from Josh Noel. He breaks it down, explains why some of these tap rooms, Cellar Door, and my guy Dave Hawley, also Orange and Brew, and Eric Schmidt, and Denver Worker over at Crafted. He talked to all of them, and they are quoted in the article. So check it out in today's Tribune. Also today, Skeleton Key is so busy. Skeleton Key has been so busy with collaborations. I just picked up a collaboration t-shirt the other day, and in the next couple of minutes, I'll be talking, and Skeleton Key comes up numerous times because they're working with so many different breweries on collaborations. But I just saw today that Skeleton Key Brewing and More Brewing in Villa Park have put out an Imperial Oak with pistachios, hazelnuts, and vanilla. Okay. It's called Skellamore, and it has the cartoon kind of like He-Man on the can. Now, Skeletor was in He-Man, and so this is perfect. Skeleton Key and More Brewing, called Skellamore. It's in cans and More Brewing right now. They'll have it on tap, I think, at Skeleton Key coming up in a week, but they will not have cans at Skeleton Key. So if you want a can of Skellamore, the Imperial Oak, check it out, or the Imperial Stout. I'm sorry. Imperial Oak is a brewery. The Imperial Stout, then check it out at More Brewing, and go online and check them out. I talked about Nick and Ivy, and they have 4 variants of their 1853 vanilla cream ale. They have a cranberry, a pumpkin spice, a maple praline, and a toasted marshmallow. I've got all 4 of them. You can buy them in 4-packs. You can't split up the 4-packs. You can't say I want 2 pumpkin and 1 cranberry. Just buy more. So my girlfriend Linda, who loves the 1853 vanilla cream ale, it's her favorite beer over there. Again, she doesn't like the Huebner as much, doesn't like the Fat Mike Lager as much. I think she likes us as people more than she likes our beer. But anyway, it's another story. But you can get these at Nick and Ivy right now, and he'll have them on tap on Friday. Now, he's not sure if he's going to have 2 of them on tap, 1 on tap, and then when that's done, put the other one on. But you'll be able to get them at Nick and Ivy Brewing. 4 different variants of the 1853 vanilla cream ale. One more thing, and this is the one I was talking about, the West Coast Optimism that I picked up from Orange and Brew the other day. It's what they made with Pollyanna, and it's a West Coast IPA, and very good, very tasty. I'll be drinking that throughout the course of the night. There's other beer stuff. There's other beer news that I want to get to, and we'll get to that in just a little bit. But I want to bring in our guest. This guy's been working hard, and he's finally got his place open. I know it's been a long go of it. John Miller from BubbleHouse Brewing. John, how are you tonight?
I'm doing good, Fred. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, no, my pleasure. How tough was it finally getting this place open? Because I know you've been working on it for a little while, and I'm sure COVID didn't help much.
Yeah, it was tough. Everybody that we talked to throughout the industry, it's kind of a constant refrain, right, about how this is never easier. It's going to take twice as long as you expect, and it's going to cost twice as much as you budget for. And they didn't really ever talk about a pandemic being thrown in on top of that. So, we had that kind of struggle to deal with, but it was a lot of work. We're a very small operation right now. It's my wife, myself, and we've got some help from my father-in-law, and then my parents have been chipping in as well, just helping with things around building, cleaning. But
sure,
it was not easy. But now that we're open, all that stuff feels very much in the rear view at this point. So we try not to focus about the 3+ years it took from sort of idea to actually open the doors, and more about looking forward to try to keep pouring beers for people.
How'd the first couple of weeks go for you after all that and just opening the doors for the very first time? I know I was there with my girlfriend, and I was there like 15 minutes after you opened the doors. There was a nice crowd there, and I know there was a nice crowd the rest of the night. How's it been going?
Really good, really good. Opening weekend was just, as you said, very packed. A lot of people in the place. And we've had a lot of more people coming through and giving us really great feedback. So we've been having a great time. The one thing I will say that, kind of, I won't say surprises me, but it makes me, aware of the work that we need to do to continue getting the message out is really, we were at Illuma Brew on Thursday and Friday this past week, talking to people right there in Lyle in our own backyard. Still a lot of people don't know that we exist, or
Sure.
have driven by the building, seen our sign up, but weren't aware that we had opened up our doors. So, that for me is now the business owner, aside from just making the beer, is really about how do we make sure people know we're there and that we're ready to pour in beers and across a wide variety of styles.
Yeah, you're right. It's actually the biggest thing is just getting them to come in the first time. Once they come in the first time, say they try 3 different beers or say they try a flight, even if they don't like one of them or don't like 2 of them, there's other ones they'll like because of the 8 or 9 beers you'll have on tap. And we're going to talk about some of them in a little bit. So that's the biggest thing, is just getting them in the door, and the atmosphere in there too. It's very clean. It's very nice. The tables are all set up really cool. The atmosphere was great. I think that's also a big seller too, because it's right there, located right on Ogden. And I'm going to ask you about that too, but it's right there on Ogden. There's a little bit of parking in front, but you got a lot of space in the back for people to park. And that's a big plus. They might drive by and say, well, there might not be room. And I think that's another thing they have to make sure they know, that there is parking in the back.
Yeah, we are definitely still working on that. We found that the 1x2 sign or whatever that we have announcing the more parking in the rear is maybe not getting the job done quite so well. So we definitely do have enough parking for everybody, but yeah, it is making sure that people know to not get scared away by the 8 cars filling the lot up front, but that there's 40 more in the back.
Yeah. How did you and your wife decide that this is what you guys wanted to do?
We kicked around a lot of different ideas. Prior to this, I worked in corporate life for 18 years. And those 18 years were good to us, but they never really scratched any of the itches or the passions that I had kind of lurking underneath the surface. So, when we talked about possible ideas for starting up a business, it always came back to this hobby and love of craft beer. I started home brewing, right out of college in 2003. And it's been a big part, not only as a hobby, but the craft beer industry in itself. It's a big part of kind of what my wife and I like to do and what we like to do on vacations. And so the more and more we talked about getting out of the corporate world, everything just kept falling back into the beer world. So I started taking some classes through College DuPage, their craft beer program. I went through and got, my level 1 and level 2 Cicerone certification, just to try to keep pushing and make sure that this was something that, I wasn't going to lose a flavor for over time.
Sure.
And then the Skeleton Key opportunity came up. We can get to that later. I don't want to jump ship or anything, but it just kind of fell into place that this was really what I had a passion for. And we really just started to push to make it happen, in the last 3 years or so.
Yeah, we'll talk about Skeleton Key in a second, because it's very, very interesting. But I wanted to talk about something too, because you brought it up about you and your wife. And I had a deal with my wife back in the day that I don't like going to the pool on vacations. So I made a deal. I said, listen, every time we go to the pool, we have to go to a brewery. So we were in Arizona, probably, 17. So 4 years ago, we were in Arizona. We went to the pool 4 times. I hit Scottsdale Brewing. I hit Goldwater Brewing. There's like 4. I hit them all. And my wife wasn't a big beer drinker, but she said, no, you made a deal. That's fine. She goes, as long as you suffer at the pool with me, I'll suffer going to a brewery with you. So it's a wonderful thing. We had gone to 4 Peaks years ago in Tucson, in Phoenix when we were there. And vacations are a great place to check out what other people around the country are doing.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's always something that we kind of include in our travels. If you get talking to my wife, she'll be the first one to tell you that she did not start life as a craft beer enthusiast. She was a Coors Light drinker through and through. So early on, we'd roll into a place and they'd have big, heavy stouts and sours, and she'd kind of say, have a beer and let's get out of here, because there's nothing here for me to drink. So
sure.
But it's always been, the craft beer community, the brewery setup has always been a safe, a space where we've found a lot of enjoyment just in sort of detaching from everything else, right? I got 2 young kids. They travel with us. Whether they like it or not, they come to breweries with us. But,
sure.
That's a time where there's no phones, there's no TVs typically. It's just the 4 of us hanging out or with friends. So, we found it's been much more of an enhancing attribute to our lives than something that is kind of a push and pull relationship for us anyway.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I was talking to your wife, my girlfriend Linda and I, we were talking to your wife probably for like 20 minutes. We started talking to her and she came around and asked how everything was. And I had a flight and my girlfriend had a couple beers. And I asked her about the Flitterwochen and she told me the whole story about it. Now, I've been to Germany twice. I love Cologne. She told me that you guys love Cologne also, and she explained to me why.
Yeah. So after we got married, our honeymoon destination was Germany. So we did a 2-week trip where we flew into Frankfurt, flew out of Frankfurt, but our first stop was Cologne, and we stayed in a tiny bed and breakfast kind of out in the country right outside of the city. And as soon as we got settled in, we got a recommendation to go out for dinner, and we spoke very little German. We just asked for local fresh beer, and of course, being where we were, Kolsch is what they started bringing us. And it instantly struck a fancy with my wife as something relatable to her, right?
Sure.
I think that's a really big part of craft beer, is to turn people on to something that's approachable and starts to slowly stretch their palate out a little bit.
Right.
And probably a lot of it had to do with the atmosphere. We were sitting in at a table outside in an alleyway in Germany on our first night of our honeymoon. So there was definitely a lot of enjoyment. But yeah, so that beer, the Kolsch, is something that I brewed with Skeleton Key. I've been brewing that recipe, trying to hone it for a long time. So it only felt appropriate that we name it Flitterwochen, which is German for honeymoon.
That's awesome. That was very, very cool. We were discussing not only that, but also the when the barmaids, servers, whatever they're called over there in Germany, when they would walk around with the tray, they would have the slots for the tall round glasses, and you would just take one from their tray and they would mark a little X or check on your coaster. And that's how at the end of the day, they said, okay, there's 7 marks, and that's what you would pay 7 times whatever. And I thought that was awesome. That was so cool. And your wife and I were talking about that, and it was fun. And we had a lot of fun discussing it.
Yeah, I would really love to say that we're going to do, and we're going to attempt to do some true Kolsch service, but the concept of marking people's coasters is, I'm not sure I'm ready to get on that honor system or make my servers have to contend with the sort of rigmarole of walking around with a tray of 12 different Kolsch glasses.
No, I agree. I understand.
But there is a little bit of a, romanticism around not only the beer, but the way it's served and the way people drink it and the experience that goes along with those nice, tall, clean, fresh, and fast way to drink a nice cold Kolsch.
Well, and the funny thing was, I was not familiar with Kolsch when I went there. We spent the first 3 days. I went with my nephew in 2006 to the World Cup, and we were in Frankfurt for the first 3 days of the World Cup. And then we hopped on a train and went to Cologne. And when we ordered 2 beers and they brought those over, I immediately said, bring us 2 more, because you're in Germany, you figure you're drinking these big beers, and here's these Kolsch in the small glass that's it's like 7 inches high, and you're going, okay, well, I'm going to need more before you get back to the bar. And we had a great time. We sat there and watched the South Africa game from a bar, and we were the only 2 guys there, so it was wonderful. But Germany's such a fun place, and there's so many different styles of beer. But you talk about Skeleton Key, and were they also teaching the class at COD, or was that just an extension of this?
No, they didn't take on that level until I think a year or 2 later. Obviously, they are people who are always looking for ways to continually stretch themselves thin. So at this time, they were really just leaning into the incubator program that they had done. And I can't quite recall. I mean, they had just opened up. So we were obviously, kind of following them and looking to check them out. And,
sure,
we saw that they were doing the Spare Keys homebrew competition that would lead to their incubator program. And so I entered Flitterwochen and, ended up getting first place and getting an invitation to come and join them. And, what an amazing experience for me, and what a critical step in this whole process to really definitively anchor my beliefs that this was an achievable goal for us and something that we could put together, but wouldn't have happened certainly without them and that experience and the information that I was able to get from them.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I've talked many times. I've had Paul and Emily on, and I've had Emily and Vicky Reed on, and we've talked all about what's happened to them since the Father's Day tornado and everything else, and all of the things they've been going through. And I picked up, I buckled down a disaster magnet that Skeleton Key and and buckled down, collaborated on. I went there the other day to pick up a shirt because they got a very cool shirt with their collaborations. Looks like a concert shirt because on the back it has all the breweries and then the dates that they're collaborating with them, and it's very cool. But the industry, I mean, you said you were in a corporate world. Have you ever seen an industry that works with each individual brewery and treats everybody on such a great level? Because everybody is pulling for the other guy, which is amazing.
I mean, it really, I'd heard these stories, right, about how great the industry was and how collaborative it was, not just in collabs of beers, but just
Right.
really supporting and sharing information. But I'll tell you, I'm constantly blown away by the kind of level of outreach that people do, right? Like I just said, we were at Illuma Brew Thursday, Friday this past week, and the amount of breweries that came up to us, unbeknownst to me really at the time, I had seen some of them, met some of them throughout the years and everything, but just offering their congratulations and their, support if we ever need anything. It's pretty impressive. I mean, the support for Skeleton Key is on a whole nother level, but it really goes to show you, at this time, I don't know if there will be some, cosmic shift that makes people start competing a little bit heavier, but at this time, it's been nothing short of amazing. The amount of sort of well wishes and offers of just, time, right?
Yeah.
Which is time and information is really critical when you're opening any business, but essentially, especially in a kind of this production environment where there's a lot of rules, laws, and regulations, and then just operational things that, aren't common knowledge to everybody. So it's been, it's been pretty awesome.
Yeah. And I know that one of the guys that I saw, Adam Montgomery, one of the guys that was actually serving with you, and I saw him, he's basically like a server on call where whoever needs him for that night, he's there. And I knew I saw him on the very first day by you, and that was nice. Nice to walk into a place. I walked in, I looked at your bar, and I looked and I said, I know him, and I know that guy, and I know this guy. And it's like everybody that goes to one place, they're going to, have you hit this place? Have you gone here? Have you gone there? I walked into Little Key the other day, the small business the Skeleton Key's doing, and I sat with the guys from the Midwest Brew Review and two guys from Wolfden. And it's like, no matter where you go, you're going to run into people from the industry, which is awesome, because when they're not working, the two guys from Wolfden said, we stopped here, but we're going to work now. And, it's just amazing how everybody, they patronize and they help out each of the other businesses, which is awesome. It's got to be fun for you as a first timer, because I've talked to so many people and they'd say, have you checked out BubbleHouse yet? Have you gone here? They're going to open and do this. And it's awesome that they're all doing that. And it is wonderful. Hopefully it never changes, because it's wonderful the way it is.
Yeah, no, I mean, thrilled to have Adam come and give us a night or two every week. He was a guy that I met first in some of those College and Page classes when we were kind of studying up and going for our Cicerone. So I've kind of been bouncing around and was thrilled to see where he when he finally wound up at Skeleton Key. So yeah, love having him on board. And yeah, just like you said, the amount of industry folks that stopped in the first couple of weeks to say hi, congrats, have a couple beers, and give us really great feedback was, these people are all busy running their own businesses. So it's not lost on me the fact that taking their time out to come, and show support in the industry is a really critical and crucial thing that just kind of, pulls everyone together a little bit more.
Okay. Now, when you said earlier, you talked about as you, your wife, your parents are helping and stuff like that. There's a reason a lot of places when they open aren't open early in the week, because somewhere along the week, you got to make beer, right? That's why, right?
Well, first and foremost, we kind of started with a Thursday through Sunday to ensure that we could manage the supply and demand of everything, right? So the one thing I didn't want to do is, start running out of beer and not being able to pour before we kind of got the rhythm of the brew day, kegging, getting things on tap and going through the motions. Yeah. And I tell everybody, I'm really surprised at how quickly Monday through Wednesday disappear.
Sure.
And we're back open on Thursday again. But yeah, for right now, we were really keeping Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to get our ducks in a row, have one or two brew days in there, allow ourselves time to thoroughly clean and set up and prep for brew days. And yeah, give us some time to plan. As I said, there's not a lot of people on our team. My wife is a full-time teacher, so she contributes where she can in terms of planning, organization, and managing sort of the staff and the payroll and the behind the scenes. But in terms of getting the brewery and the beer running, most of that is on my shoulders right now. And, you know, God bless the team that we've been put together. The people that came in and applied for the job, we have so many people that have experience and have really helped to fill in all the many gaps that my wife and I have for running a tap room and keeping things seamless and giving people that come in the experience that we want to give them, really.
Before we talk about the beers, you are open tomorrow, right? Or you are open Wednesday, I mean.
Wednesday, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Our first Wednesday, we're going to keep those on through at least the end of the year, and possibly forever. You know, we'll see what we have been told countless times that January and February start to slow down after the holidays.
Sure.
So whether it makes sense to be open in Wednesday in January, but yeah, Wednesday will be our first Wednesday open, and all throughout December, we'll keep those on as well. So we're excited to add that day in. And obviously this week coming up, kick off, Thanksgiving celebrations and get some more people in the tap room, get more people to visit when they might be home, might be visiting family and friends.
Are you drinking the one that's going to be out on Wednesday, the drastically unrealistic?
I am not. No.
Okay.
This is actually, I'm doing some quality control. This is a crowler of the Smoky Poops, the rye smoked porter.
Yeah.
One of the first beers that I brewed. This was put into a can probably about 4 weeks ago. So just trying to see how they hold up. And it's drinking really nice right now. So I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Not to toot my own horn too much.
Yeah, nice to do quality control, having a beer or two. So you do have the Imperial Stout, the drastically unrealistic tomorrow with 3 limited variants. Toasted coconut, coffee, vanilla. I'm not a coffee guy. It's funny. I'm not a coffee guy, but unless it's like a breakfast stout with a ton of coffee, I can't taste it. It's that bitterness from coffee. And people say, well, you like beer. How can you not like coffee? I said, I've never liked it. There's a whole story behind that. And then the cocoa nib, cinnamon, and orange peel, which just sounds crazy, ridiculously amazing. You're going to have all of those on Wednesday?
Not all on Wednesday. So we are going to be releasing one of each of those, one on Wednesday, one on Friday, and one on Saturday.
Okay.
The base beer will be on throughout the weekends, and we'll be filling crowlers of the base Imperial Stout. So, I get the thing with coffee. My wife doesn't drink coffee either, but she has stretched her palate to include barrel-aged and, big, heavy stouts, even with coffee in them. This coffee variant, was really nice because the base beer itself has a lot of like dark chocolate and kind of dark fruit flavors to it already. So we found just a nice sort of African coffee that was not really roasty and bitter, but just had some smooth chocolate and earthy flavors that kind of enhance the overall beer itself. So yeah, those variants will be very limited. We only have a very small amount of each one of them. But in tasting through them yesterday and today, they'll probably be coming back because I want more of them. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to kind of create a couple more of those in the future.
You've got right now, if I'm not mistaken, you got a golden ale, you got the farmhouse saison. I might not be going with the names, I'm going with the styles because it's easier right now.
Yeah.
The raspberry lemon kettle sour, the smash pale ale, the double dry hopped hazy, the West Coast IPA, and the rye smoked porter, which you were talking about. And then there's also something, you got a cranberry sour.
Yep. So we just put on, we debuted it at Aluma Brew. They wanted something holiday themed. So this is a beer that we've done before, but we kind of kicked it up a notch with some orange peel, some fresh ginger, and some like a spice mix of cinnamon, cardamom, star anise to really kind of bring out that holiday kind of richness of flavor. And then, part of that was getting 100 pounds or so of fresh cranberries that my brother, who runs a farm up in Grays Lake, was able to leverage one of his partners in Michigan to get us those fresh cranberries and get those in the beer. So that beer got a lot of good feedback at the festival, and it's really drinking nicely right now. And then the last one that we just put on is the Schwarz beer, which has been drinking real nice too. So that's the final addition to our list right now.
Okay. 2 other quick questions. I'm going to let you go. I appreciate you jumping on. Where'd the name come from?
BubbleHouse.
Yeah.
So BubbleHouse for us is really kind of a figurative and literal presentation of all the things that we love about craft beer. So on the one hand, from kettle to glass, we're dealing with bubbles. I think being a home brewer, some of the most basic, natural reaction and conversion of yeast converting sugars into alcohol, it's still a mesmerizing thing the first time you brew a beer and you start seeing that airlock bubble and just know that there's life in there. So
Sure.
From that literal perspective, we just are a house of fermentations, and we really wanted to put that forward, right? I care a lot about these beers, and we want people to enjoy them, and that kind of feeds into the figurative portion, which is the house part. We really wanted to build a space that was welcoming and could welcome in a community and start to build our own little segment of the craft beer community and make sure that people felt at home. I think traveling the country, some of the best people we've met from all walks of life, so many different personalities, but definitely tethered by that love of beer. And so you really meet and have these great experiences. And we wanted to create a place to actually do that. And that's where BubbleHouse kind of came in.
Now I know you've been open, what, 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
3 weeks,
something
yeah.
like that. Okay. Now I know this question may be a little bit ahead of time, but I'm sure it's on the agenda. Have you looked at it? When might you consider canning your things? I know you do growlers and stuff like that, but I mean, canning always seems like it's the next thing after everything gets open and everything gets started.
Yeah, so we plan on canning. One of the things that we've always said around sort of driving some of those decisions is, what does the community want to drink from us? So we're already starting to get some of that data in terms of what beer might they want to see in a can first. And so we really want to drive our decision making, not based on what I think is my favorite beer or the beer that I think people should be impressed with the most, but let them come in, experience it in the tap room. And we're starting to see these are the beers that people are gravitating towards. And those are probably the ones that we'll put in cans. We certainly want to start, getting distribution out there in the coming weeks.
Sure.
Again, right now we're focused on keeping beer in the tap room, but we very much have met and want to continue to build those relationships with businesses like Beer Now and Beer Cellar,
Yep.
Orange and Brew. All these people have come in and talked to us and given us so much great support. We want to get our beers into their shops and then start merging out into restaurants and bars as well, and make sure that, again, back to the first thing we talked about, driving more people's awareness that we're here, we're making great beer, and we want people to partake in that.
Yeah. And so you're open Wednesday. People can stop by Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, check out the Imperial Stout, check out the variants if they're lucky enough, and get on out to BubbleHouse Brewing. John, appreciate you jumping on. It's been fun. You'll see me soon. I can't wait to try some of these stouts and some of the variants. Hopefully I can get out there. Friday is going to be a tough day because I already got about 7 different breweries I plan on stopping, picking up this from here and this from there and trying this. So we'll see how the weekend goes.
We know it's a busy time in craft beer, but we appreciate the support, and thanks for having us on, Fred.
John, appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. See you soon.
You too. John Miller, BubbleHouse Brewing, great guy, great story, and just what the people from Skeleton Key. I mean, we talk so much about Skeleton Key and Paul and Vicky and John and the guys over there, Paul and Emily and John, and they do such a great job, and they've helped so many other brewers. And when their problems and their struggles happen with the tornado taking down the roof, you see all the people that have stepped forward. That's because the community is so tight knit. It's the holiday week, so I have nothing up my can. I have a can of Skeleton Key and Buckle Down Disaster Magnet that's going to be in my belly soon, but I have nothing really up my can. None of that stuff. My buddy Steve checking on in. So if you get a chance, go to BubbleHouse Brewing. I said my Linda and I stopped there on their very first day. It's 2121 Ogden in Lisle. It's on the south side of the street. If you know where Bavarian Lodge is, it's about maybe less than a mile west of Bavarian Lodge on Ogden. Okay, you can't miss it. If you look in the front, the 8 parking spots are taken. Pull in. You can go between the 2 buildings, go to the back. It's great. There's a back entrance. You're going to enjoy it. And they're opening at a time where it's going to get a little warmer, or I'm sorry, going to get a little colder. But eventually it'll be nice. They'll probably have some outside seating somewhere. So it'll be wonderful. Another brewery in the area, which is wonderful. So it's BubbleHouse Brewing, John Miller. They do a great job over there. Check out the Imperial Stout if you get there. And if you're a fan of Kolsch style beer, check out the Flitterwoken. He said it much better than I did. But it's very, very tasty also. Have a great Thanksgiving. Be back again next Monday, and we'll see how things go with the Bears on Thursday. There'll be a lot of other stuff, hopefully a lot more beer talk. I'll definitely have a lot more news about things that I picked up during the course of the week. Thanks to Mike for running the show as he always does. You can catch us here on Facebook and any of the 1252 Facebook pages. Check out all the other shows here, our fantasy show, the gambling show, overs, unders. Check out all the shows here on the 1252 network. You can see us on Facebook. You can see us on Twitch, on YouTube, and usually the day after. You can find all of our stuff on Spotify. You want to hear any of the old stuff? I talked to you about how I had Josh Noel and some of these other people on. You can go to Spotify, track down my shows. You can go back and hear any of the older shows. I have no idea who I'll have on next week. I just know that I'll be here, and hopefully you will too, right here on Huebs, Views, and Brews. Thanks a lot. Have a great night.